Yeah. So how was the hurricane, Andrew?
Yeah,
How
hurricane was
was
great. It's kind of like you build up all this emotion and anticipation, and you
it's like
don't really
weeks
want
of it.
anything to happen. Like you don't you because that's really terrible, right? But
Hmm.
then you're like, oh, we're not done it. Like, could it be a little bit rougher outside? Could the wind be a little bit stronger? That's terrible to say, but like, so we had like, I don't know, 40 to 60-mile-an-hour winds, which really isn't that big a deal. It's a big deal because it's 8, 10, 12 hours. It just keeps going and going and going, versus like a little storm rolling through. Our biggest thing that happened. So I'm in Tampa Bay by the beaches. One, we have the Alexas, the show, the ones with the screen. They're terrible, by the
Oh,
way. I
yeah.
Yes,
think,
I
The
know what you
Echo
yeah,
mean.
Show.
Yes.
Echo Show, whatever it is, yeah.
Hmm.
And so it shows like the news, and I'm like, all these words they use are just like, oh my goodness, like the rest of
Hmm.
the world thinks we're dead. It's awful. And it's like far
Basically.
from the truth. Basically. So we have
Meanwhile,
golf.
people in Florida are actually riding rafts
Yeah,
down.
they're like having fun, taking
Hmm.
pictures, trying to there's now like kind of viral spots that will always flood. And side note, they flood like anytime, anyways. So
Hmm.
of course a hurricane comes by and it looks really cool and it floods all over the place, but it's gonna flood anyways. So fortunately,
Yeah.
everything was all good. The kids had 3 days off of school, which is insane.
Nice.
Hurricane days, great.
Hmm.
Hopefully there aren't too many more, or else I have to make them up. And we start earlier, we get out sooner, so that's kind of annoying for summer plans. The way we plan everything, but I mean, I feel like it's the summit is coming up, and then that means there's a hurricane. So
It's
hopefully
just how
this
it
is one
works.
that's out of the way. I'm like, oh, it's going to Julie. It's going to Julie because y'all
Mhm.
usually get it bad up there,
That's what I
Louisiana,
told
compared to
somebody.
us.
It either hits Andrew or it hits me in Louisiana, or
Yeah,
somehow it goes to Texas, which has
yeah.
happened a few times too. But so far we've been lucky this year, but knock on wood. So in
Yeah.
Oklahoma, when I lived in Oklahoma, it was always when the weather guy pulled out his sparkly tie. That meant
Oh
we
no.
were for sure getting hit with a tornado
Is that his party
that
tie?
night. Yeah, it was like they were like so
Um,
excited. And it's like, well, don't be quite this
See,
excited over
tornadoes are
this.
terrifying
You're a
to me.
little too excited about them.
Yeah. Tornadoes aren't like, oh, we have a couple days to plan. And like, if it gets really bad, we could at least, for us, like, if it were to be really, really bad, we could go like 20, 30 miles east and you're fine. Like, it's still going to be really bad weather, but, the hurricane force winds aren't, as big as like the hurricane going through the whole southeast. Like, it's like, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles from the center. So we could just go towards Orlando where the builder show is and be fine if it's hitting really rough for us. But a tornado, it's like here I am.
Yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
Not
more
good.
warning with the hurricane, but it's
Yeah.
hard for me because the hurricanes are like, should we go? Shouldn't we go? What's everybody else
Yeah.
doing?
What's
Are
that
they
song? Should I
leaving?
stay or
Should we
should I go?
leave? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's hard for me because we're, newish down here, 6 years, I guess.
Yeah. And after all, you get used to it. I'm sure I think there's a paradox name for that where like you prepare, you prepare, you prepare, nothing
Mhm.
happens. Eventually you're like, we're not doing anything. No one put their shutters up on our street, which the last storm, everyone's like, hey, you need help. Hey, you need help. And now we're like, forget that. But what it
Mhm.
did make me realize talking to people the next day. So we're in a 2019 KB Home 3285. That'd be our floor plan name. Really
Okay.
creative. Sounds like a car. Um, Other than the defective flap on our vent in our bathroom that keeps like rats out, I guess. I don't know. That like when there's wind, it's like super annoying, just like tapping
Mhm.
on the house.
Yeah.
Other than that noise, like dead quiet. I mean, you heard the storm,
Slept
but
like a
it didn't wake
baby.
us up. So I'm like, this would be perfect marketing if someone wanted to even approach hurricane marketing with building. But it's a reality down here in Florida.
Yeah.
Everyone else I talked to was like, oh my gosh, that storm was so loud. The wind was howling. I'm like, it was really quiet in our house. They're like, do you have new windows? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, what brand did you get? I'm like, I don't, whatever, like fit the margins for the builder, which I'm sure they're nice. They hit code, but they're not going to be super premium windows at all. But even then, like, it was quiet. Like, that's worth it. As far as we have 3 kids, they didn't even wake up as the thing passed by. So, a big selling point for us Florida people for sure is just like a little bit of ease and peace and quiet. So yeah, let's jump into story time. Actually, let's get this thing started. So welcome to episode 301. I'm the ad doctor Andrew Peak, and with me today is Beth Russell and Julie Jarnagin. How are y'all?
Hi.
Hello.
We're here.
301.
301.
We didn't start a new season. We talked about it, but we're at
I know.
301.
We got to keep going. We got to hit 1,000. That's the next
Mhm.
worth mentioning number. I think is 1,000.
500. 500.
Yeah, we
500,
just
okay.
skipped over 500. Like it was
500.
nothing.
500. It's like anniversary dates. Like which ones count? Like we'll be 13 years in February. Like doesn't count, right? 13, 15 is the
It's
next
like
one.
unlucky number 13. It's like the
Yeah.
elevator
Ooh.
floors. You just
Oh,
skip
no.
13.
Maybe we skip it then. I'll tell her that.
Mhm.
See, we don't have to
I
do
will
anything
say
for
that
it.
our builder yesterday during our walk was like talking about how he was only married once and he will only ever be married once, but it's because he got a divorce and he never wants to get remarried. And I was
Oh,
like, well, how
gosh.
many years
Oh.
were you married? And he goes, 13.
Oh,
And
no.
Mike and
See?
I
Oh.
look at each other
Skip
because
it.
next year is 13 for
Oh,
us
y'all are
too.
oh yeah, I
Uh-oh.
forgot. Yeah.
We're like, we're good.
Interesting.
We're
We'll
fine.
we'll go to 14. It's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just not count anymore. It's all made up anyways. So let's do some stories. I'll do mine because mine's quick and fun and easy. There is a townhome project that is for sale, like maybe a 2 or 3 minute walk from me. Brand new, and we don't have much new construction, so I've been watching it and we drive by it. It's this shortcut on the way back to our house. So seeing the progress is fun and they look really nice. But here's the thing that is weird.
I
They
know.
have a sign spinner company they contracted to. Yeah, bang your head on the keyboard, slam your
Like
fists on
the
the steering
human
wheel.
person standing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign spinner, like a really top-notch looking person that you'd trust with your kids to watch, or like, no, you wouldn't trust this person to do anything with
Mhm.
anything. I'm like, why would you hire this company? And I pass by them every Saturday and Sunday. The spinner is out there, standing there in the heat, 90 something degrees. I'm like, that's torture. This poor person having to sit out there like for 4 or 6 hours at a time.
Mhm.
They have no teeth. And this is, I sound very negative. I'm coming from the perspective of this is your brand and reflection of your
Yeah.
brand. This is an interaction of your brand. It says, I'll call the name out. It says Golf Wind Homes. And the sign looks really nice. And next, you have this person holding it who maybe hasn't made the best choices, and that's where they're at in life. I don't know. I'm assuming a lot there, but you would not be wise to say, hey, I'm gonna hire that person to represent my brand.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. It's so strange. And the rest of their marketing really isn't that bad. Like the content they produce, like on Instagram and social, to show the homes off, and their pictures are actually pretty decent. So I'm like, why did you make that decision? This is
Yeah.
so strange.
It
Yeah.
makes
I
me
don't know.
think of,
Weird.
I'm doing a plug real quick, but for Carla's
Do it.
presentation at the summit, it's about consistency. And that is like being inconsistent with your brand. Everything is reflective of your brand, and everything from the people you hire to choosing to do a sign spinner in the first place. All of that is
Yeah.
reflective of your brand. And so that showing that you're lacking consistency can reflect a lot on and raise some red flags for people when they're pursuing working with you as a brand.
Yeah,
And
that's the
we-
first perception, is that,
we
or first
don't know-
impression.
We don't know the background of this story, but it sounds like it could be that the salesperson in that neighborhood was maybe given some leeway to make some decisions or do something. It sounds like something an on-site salesperson may want, but maybe not. Maybe you're
Yeah,
wrong.
I want to know. I think we are going to tour the model home this weekend just to go see it.
Find out more.
Go
Come back and
undercover.
report.
I'll go undercover. I don't think they know me. Hopefully not. They're like, I listened to the podcast and you're now
That would be
on
funny.
my poopy list
Can
because
you wear
you
a
were.
wig?
I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. So does that count? I don't know. I'll shave my beard off. They'll be like, oh, look at this little child coming in here. Oh,
Yeah,
precious.
no
Where's
one
your
wants
mother?
to see that.
No, I don't even want to see that. I'll do the mustache. Do the mustache one
There
time.
you go.
But I'm like, oh, the sign spinners. And I feel more that most people are like, this person's in this heat. Oh my goodness. Like, why would you do that? Versus
Mhm.
like, I think that'll be the first thought versus like, oh, that person looks like maybe not, the most trustworthy. Where'd you find this guy?
Yeah.
They'll be like, you really paid this person to stand out there in the heat for that long? Like, where's their cooler? Where's their water? Where's their umbrella?
What if you're saying that and it's like the owner's son or something?
Oh gosh, I'd feel terrible. And there's like some challenges there and this is
Well-
actually like a good job for the person. I'd feel pretty
Okay,
bad.
but that's also horrible if they're not hydrating them. Like, say there
That's true.
is like this beautiful background story of like they help this guy out and he's out there spinning this sign with all these
He's
guys.
not very skilled.
Hydrate him. Come
Hydrate
on
him.
now. It's
There's some
Florida.
Gatorades
Get
out
in
the
the chair.
window, some Propels, whatever it may be.
Get him a
Yeah, that's-
camelback. Like,
Yeah, hook them up. But yeah, it is strange. But a while back, I'm like, why didn't they just pre-sale? Why don't they just pre-sale? But I could
Yeah.
see like, all right, maybe they wait. They could, hopefully prices are still going up. There's very limited land where we are, so maybe that is maximizing profit revenue, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out the story at some point, I hope. Julie,
But it's interesting,
yeah.
like from a case study perspective of you're a local person who has seen these homes go up. You know, it's rare that new homes are going up, albeit single family or townhome. So you're watching it. You're watching, you're waiting.
Yeah.
And maybe you're in the market, so you try to join a list or you've tried to reach out. And then that urgency is kind of killed when you see something that's like, wait, maybe it's not as nice as I thought it was. So
Yeah,
it
that's
is
true.
an interesting case study.
And they had some goofy stuff with their Zillow, but that could be I'll save that for another story. Just some perception of like, oh, that price looks so much lower than it actually is because it hits a different number. We'll do that one next week, I guess. Julie, what do you got?
Yeah, so we always talk about how we kind of hear the same things over and over. This week for me, it's been builders saying that home buyers are coming in and asking for everything. They want, price off a home, and they want all the extra added features, and they need an extra room, and they need, just all the things. And so it was interesting because some were builders who were really struggling in the last month or two, and some were like still doing okay and still hearing the same thing. So I have no data on this. So this is my theories. So y'all can disagree with me if you don't think so.
I
think one could be that there's a perception by some people that maybe it's a buyer's market right now. Whether in their market it really is or not. So they feel like, ooh, they're desperate. Like I should ask for more. And I don't think we are helping ourselves by like putting all these kind of flash sale things on our websites. I think that makes it look even more like they can ask for those things. My second is, and I think Kevin mentioned this on one of the meetings, that if people are gonna, my Oklahoma accent almost came out right there. Did y'all hear it? If people,
I need to know.
if people are paying 7% or over, then they're like, if I'm going to pay this much, I want to get everything I could possibly want. Like, I don't want to settle. If I'm having to pay a premium right now and, max out my monthly budget, then I want everything I want. And then my third theory is maybe if you just have a lot of nationals in your market and the nationals builders are starting to like throw stuff at people because they're just trying to get it off their books. So that's my theories. What do you all think is making people all of a sudden come in and start asking for more?
Well, I love what you said about like that high level messaging, on the website, screaming different sales, because I think it connects to what Andrew was talking about and how the perception that we're showing people, right? The perception that we're giving off. And it reeks desperate in some cases when at the high level, like the early part of the sales funnel, you're saying, oh, we're going to give you this and we're going to give you that. Well, then people are going to naturally push, especially when they're seeing all these things in the market about how terrible and how historic this market is. They're going to try to see if they can get more out of it. On average right now, I think the national average is 6% in concessions on spec homes. And there's some people, probably more likely the big box builders, or even in like the markets where people are having a bit of desperation, where they're giving 9% or more in concessions to people to get these homes moving. So I can't blame the buyer, but at the same time, we have to be aware on the marketing end of what message are we sending to people and how much are they going to push back, and what are they going to take psychologically from this message.
And I think a lot of the salespeople haven't ever had to deal with this, probably, if they're have just been in the role for a few years. I mean, before COVID and all of that. So it's also, I think, training people on how to deal with that if they come in and just want everything.
Oh, absolutely. It takes a lot of creativity from the sales side of things, of how to, I think the skill of negotiation has somewhat been lost through the process of COVID, and people are slowly on the sales side, from what we hear, trying to get it back. But it's, this isn't something that they've run into before. And it's really, truly unlike anything any of us have really run into before. So there's a whole different bag of tricks that they have to start developing on the on-site side. And a lot of that is just core creative negotiation.
Yeah,
that's right. I think Well, one, do we think it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? This is just poll.
Well, yeah, I
I
almost
don't
put
even
a
know.
little,
It's like
I
it's a
think,
market. Like,
yeah, it's a market. I think it depends on the market. And I think that, yeah, I wouldn't call it a buyer's
Yeah.
market. It's so dependent right now on where you are and what's happening, I think.
yeah,
It
that's
depends on who you talk to. A
Mm.
seller is going to tell you it's a seller's market, and a buyer is going to tell you it's a buyer's market. And it's just because it's a different perception of reality in either direction. And like you guys just both said, it really depends on where you are, truly, too.
And
definitely,
supply is still low, but demand is pretty low too. So it's just a different market than we've seen lately.
yeah. You saying that, Julie, made me think of that. I'm like, well, what kind of market is this thing? Like, it's almost. Well, I don't even know what's happening. But
An
what
identity crisis.
identity crisis? Where who am I? I don't know. Midlife crisis. But it made me think about like, so when prices were going up, they're going up because it still fit the monthly payment, right? Like, we'll just keep bumping the prices up because rates are 3%, 3.5%, 2.5%, 4%, whatever percent. You kept going up because it still fit. If the amount of people that can afford 2,500 per month is X, cool. Let's just keep going until those, it's in its siphon off as far as the amount of people. And we're really in the same spot. It's just like, well, how less people can afford 2,500, and then you combine the monthly payment with the perceived value, and so they're like, well, we're not going to spend 2,500 or 28 or 2,000, whatever number it may be, if they feel like they're not getting the value out of it. So they're asking for more, but it's always been about, at least my brain, this could be completely incorrect, whatever they can afford per month is going to be, that is your market. That's who you could sell to. So if you have people coming in and their cap is 2,500, and all your homes based on the average down payment, based on what people can afford, is going to be 2,800. Well, there's very few people that can move from 25 to 28, unless they're talking about negotiation, Beth. Like, are they actually being honest with how much they have? Maybe they have another 50K over here. They probably don't. Or another 10K over here. Or maybe they can move things around and just delay purchasing. They could pay off that credit card, or like, oh, their truck lease is gone in a few months. Maybe they could stage things where, like, all right, they don't have a car for a little bit. This sounds like fraud. I don't know if I'm saying fraud, but like, let's not get a new car for a couple months. Now you can afford this house. And if you need to get a new car later, cool. Just wait on that a little bit. All these conversations that are outside of my scope of context, but it's all about the monthly payment is what I feel like. So I think the value is where they're looking at, Julie, as far as they're asking for more because they feel like I'm not getting that much home at the payment that it has to be at 6% or 7%. Even so, I rather rent here because I have all these lifestyle resort luxury amenities that are actually better than buying right now. So I think marketing, though, like I'm looking at a builder here. We're rolling back home prices over 250,000 in savings. Ooh, right? That's like kind of terrifying, right? That's like
it's Walmart.
Walmart. Yeah, rolling back. That's definitely rollback prices. I think even the smiley face rolls. I think that's, if I remember right. We're rolling back prices. But that's like, oh gosh, like, well, I better negotiate. Like, I better try to push the price down, even if they don't offer. I think that's like training people to push the price down, try to get more, try to get more, try to get more.
Yeah. And then from a marketing and a high level, like C-suite conversation of, are we priced right in the market? And are we, we've seen builders that outprice themselves purposely and then had to roll back their pricing in order to better fit in the market. And adjusting pricing may not be the solution. It depends. But going back to what you were saying, Andrew, data was released recently that said post-tax, median income-wise, new home buyers are spending like up to 70% of their income on housing right now.
I believe
it. And it's like, because they have to if they need to move, right? But that's where
have to.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I still think builders are not really marketing new versus used that well.
Yeah.
And that's always been a thing. Like, I think we could probably go back 300 episodes ago, 295 episodes ago, and be like, oh, we need to sell new versus used. Like my example with the windows.
Hurricane.
All your windows are new. The average hurricane decibels in your house will be 70 instead of 90. Well, that's like chainsaw versus I don't know, microwave being on, whatever the noise is, the noise level for a hurricane. But I think that's still something that is still missed all over the place. Like new carpet. What's his name? Quentin Lears would always talk about that. There's no toenails in our carpet. I'm gonna go look at those. There's no, and you're like, oh gosh, that's disgusting. Or there's no this, there's no that. But you're like, oh, now that you say that, like lay on this carpet. Like it is clean. No one else has been on this carpet for the past.
This toilet hasn't leaked.
This toilet hasn't leaked. Like all those things. I think that is like there's tons of value in that without having to go down in price or add more or give more concessions. Just if we talk about it a bit more.
Yeah, and in this market more than ever, existing homes are looking at new homes as their competition because there's so little existing homes on the market everywhere that they have to.
What fun. What a great market. It's like everybody, what's that on Reddit? Am I the beep? Like, and it rates, it's a situation. It's like, well, you're the, I don't want to say the word because I need like my own censoring.
Starts with an A.
Am I the a-hole or not? And so then people rate this situation like, and this is kind of like, well, everyone kind of sucks here. Thing. It's not a buyer's market. It's not a seller's market. Beth, what do you have?
Well, on a happy note.
Oh yeah, let's do some happiness.
Regarding buyers.
You're a
and
buyer.
Us being a buyer, we close on our home next week. So by the time
that's so exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. And by the time that this episode goes live, we will be closed on our home. We won't be living in it yet, but we will be closed on it. And it was funny when we did our walk yesterday, like I said, that we had, we were talking to our builder and my husband was referencing like one of the first episodes that I mentioned us going through this process and building our home. And Kevin was like, he can get it done. How fast? Like, there's no way. And he did it. So
man,
shout out Charles.
Charles
getting it done on a tough lot. So I'm super excited.
What are you most excited for with your home?
Honestly, it's like the home itself. There's a lot of things. The porch. If you've seen the porch, need I say more? If you haven't, you need to go to my Instagram and find a picture of the porch and that experience. But it's just being settled. Like we're living in an Airbnb. This isn't our space. This isn't our stuff. I miss our pillows. I miss the rest of my clothes. I've been rotating through the same clothes for like 3 months now. So I'm just excited to get the rest of our stuff back and feel settled as a family because we're supposed to be here at least 3 years, which is long term for us.
Yeah.
So, and it could be even longer. So we really are just excited to feel settled.
That sounds like a Hallmark commercial. Julie, you could probably really take that and make it sound really good. Feel settled.
Let's write a book.
Let's write a book about that. Be at home. Feel set. There's a lot of value in that. Yeah. It's like the journey's done. Like we arrived, like we're here. You could breathe.
Yeah. And final content coming. So like I'll do a walkthrough of the house. I'm going to try to get professional photos of the house once it's done. Because once we move in, because we live in our homes, it's going to be too messy. Like,
yeah, does not look like a model home. The neighbor to us, he's OCD. I mean that with all endearment. Like he will mow his yard 3 times, like the same spot. It's amazing. His house is a museum. It's insane. I'm like, I don't know. People live like that. And he has guests all the time, but your house, our house, no kids. No, he had kids. Had
kids make the difference.
Even I feel like it's like, what's that in Christmas Vacation where the neighbor next door, like their house is like all these things, everything's breakable. You walk in, you're like, oh no, this vase is 6 feet tall. I don't want to stand next to it. Yeah. So that's a good idea. Get the pictures ahead of time. Did you do any pictures during the build as far as like to know where any electrical things are, or that's just not your level of commitment to that type of content? Personal.
Yes photos. And no. Part of it is that we weren't local when a lot of that stage of construction was happening. So we have a walkthrough video after electrical, but it's a little darker. You can't really see much because obviously there's no light and it's a video. So it's not as high quality in this case. And the time of day, we have trees blocking the sun too. So like I could make it out and I have like a good idea of where things are. And I saw it at frame and took a bunch of pictures at frame, but could have done a better job, but it's okay.
Yeah. And my last overly personal question. This is the first time you lived in the South. You were in Texas before.
No, we've lived in the South for most of the time. Okay. My daughter was born in North Carolina.
Okay. There we go. That is South. It cools down though. But to me, you have to have fans in every room. Is that you? Okay.
No. So here's the thing.
Jeez Christ.
I know. No, it's actually part of it is budget. Okay. Part of it is like
I'll
we
donate
will
some
put
fans.
a fan in eventually.
Oh,
But the
God.
fans that like the vendor was charging for, like, I'm not gonna pay that. I can put in a fan, Andrew.
Your
I can do
hubby's
that
pretty tall.
myself.
Does he even need a ladder? Who
Okay,
knows?
in this house he will, because the
Okay, good.
ceilings are very high. But
Nice.
yeah. We'll put in our own fans in some places, but we have fans all on the porch. We have fans in like the main living areas. And then I'm the person that like keeps the air on like 68
Nice.
at night.
I like it. That was
So-
our first, when we moved in, that was the first thing. We went to Home Depot or Lowe's.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's Home Depot. I think that's the thing. Growing up, you either go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and that's just who you stick with your whole life. I'm a Home Depot person. That's just
I'm
where
loyal.
I'm loyal to Home Depot. I want the floors that look like that. I want the orange and white signs. I think we bought like 14 fans, and that was the first thing we did before we did anything
Wow.
else. The fans are going in. Yeah, we need the fans. So
Look,
yeah.
I'm just thankful for Labor Day sales because it's helping us
that's
out.
true.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It's good timing. That's
Mhm.
true.
It
Right
is
before
perfect
you
timing.
move.
We'll see if there's any builder Labor Day sales. That'll be fun to watch.
Okay.
I haven't seen any yet. Well, let's get on to the news. We have this first one. This is interesting from nahb.org. We love them. Zillow Redfin partnership increases exposure for new construction listings. So this one is interesting. Essentially, all your listings will be pushed over to Redfin, and Zillow and Redfin are being friends.
Mhm.
It feels kind of shocking, but it's mutually beneficial. What do y'all think about this?
Yeah,
I think it's exciting.
I think it's a great thing. I mean, it sounds good. It's more exposure for the builders. I don't see any cons from our end on it from builders.
Yeah, and I think the big win from it is that they're syndicating the builders' content, not just the MLS listings.
Yeah.
Which is huge because that is the thing that was so hurtful to so many builders was like, no, we don't want to use the MLS. We want to have control over all the content and not be the MLS content. And so the fact that they're going to be putting the community pages on, which if you have your feed set up properly, then it's the content that you own from your own website. So that part is the like cherry on top.
That is really nice. Yeah, more exposure, the better. I like it. I think it's a win for everybody. Zillow, Redfin, builders.
Yeah.
The whole
Kudos.
new home construction industry. Like the more, I think we forget about that. The more people that see where it says, what's that on Zillow? I think it says new construction. It's like blue and white text.
Yeah.
You start seeing that more and more and more. Like that just fuels the demand. Just like if you're car shopping and all of a sudden, or this is opposite here, hurricanes and saltwater and Teslas apparently don't mix. So now there's all these not so great jokes about Tesla. They catch on fire, the salt water, apparently, and the batteries. I had no idea. There's been 4 Tesla fires since Tuesday night where I'm at in Pinellas County. I don't know why I'm talking in my little Zoom box with my hands, which is like a foot wide. But I'm like, oh, enough so that Lindsay, my wife, texted me, and we were looking at getting a Tesla next year. She's like, are you trying to kill me? All these Teslas are catching on fire.
Now
But
I'm going to have nightmares.
The awareness.
So, thank you.
So just, don't go like in the water like a submarine. I think that's the goal there. But it just increases the awareness, increases the demand, just having it out there that much more, which is great for all builders. So that is awesome.
And I think like it's a good, like we're getting recognition that we're important too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we want to be seen more, and like our content matters, our listings matters, our homes matter, everything that we do matters. Okay. And so like put us out there more, man. And,
That's right.
it feels like we were heard, right?
Yeah, it did feel like for a while we were getting buried on some of these sites by all the existing homes, and we would be like on another tab if you didn't do that. So yes, it does seem like now that new construction is such a big percentage of what's available and out there, we're getting a little more love. That's nice.
That's right. What is the slogan for the Builder Show? Oh, it's right there. It's on my brain. Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
It's not in my brain.
All homes start here.
Oh,
and people are like, oh, that's cute. And then you think about it, you're like, oh, I want to say a bad word. Can I say a bad word? I'm not going to say a bad word. But you're like, oh, like legit, like every new home. Some people are anti-development, right? They're like, not my backyard or whatever it may be. But you go, okay, so homes are going away. Attrition, just naturally, hurricanes, they're going away. All homes start here. So home building is so important. Like every new home starts with a builder. Like the homes that are 50 years old, 2073, that home that's 50 years old with all the character at some point had no character or wasn't redone and painted 15, 20 times. So yeah, just the awareness on new homes and just that, I don't say respect. That sounds a little weird, and I'm like sucking up, but like it's pretty important. Like new homes are important.
Yep.
Let's go to some. To me, this is maybe I'm spicy today, a little spicy. This one's
You
from
seem spicy. I'm liking it.
Double caffeinated. Maybe some from realestatenews.com. It's titled Maui Broker Hanging Up on Vultures, Holding On to Hope. So I read this, and I'm friends with someone from Hawaii. We train together as often as we can, and I'm like, man, this like gets me fired up a little bit for some reason. Essentially, we had all day, not we. I didn't experience this, so I can't count that as mine. All the fires in Hawaii, and just the developers and brokers and just investors, anyone trying to get that land, which is so limited and also so valuable, and just kind of like disregarding, like there's people still like they can't go to their homes. There's the, what do they call them? I forgot the zones you can't go to because they're still active burning, all that, and they're already jumping in like vultures, is what this article describes, trying to pick up the land or houses that burned down. What were y'all's feelings and thoughts on this? Very complex history, very complex history. So it's delicate. In one
word, ick.
Ick, yes.
It's like, just sad. Like we had this conversation with a builder the other day, and in prep for my summit talk, I've had this conversation of like, we forget that this is an extremely personal purchase and journey. And like, these people are going through an extremely personal thing. And we're just like, people are just going in there and being grubby, and it's just ick. It's just ick. I understand it. I get it, but it's ick.
Yeah, I get it too.
Yeah. And then because of that, they put a moratorium on the land transactions, which is bad. Yes, it's good because they did it for a good reason, but then it's also bad for the people who really are trying to do, a land transaction that was already happening, or just trying to do business and get back to normal. So they're having to do it because of people doing wrong things, and then it's slowing everything else down. So it's just frustrating that those people are screwing things up for everybody.
Yes, I didn't intentionally try to set it up this way, but 2 minutes ago I was like, we need this like respect for home building. All homes start here. And then this kind of goes, it's like, well, how can you say both things? It's like, but if we want that, like less of the attitude of not in my backyard, or like, oh, developers are this or this, it's like, oh, this type of article like doesn't really help. Even kind of not forgetting about the history of like the United States to the Kingdom of Hawaii, and like that history there. A lot of people in Hawaii have, a lot of mistrust to people on the mainland and all that, rightfully so. So then you have people from, quote, the mainland trying to come in and once again, and their perspective, get this land. This sounds like it's a little political, but I'm not trying to be political at all. It's really interesting reading it. And the broker gives his stories about, he's taking all the calls. He's the one wanting to voice his thoughts and concerns and feelings to the people calling, trying to buy the property that's burnt down. While these, he had 8 or 9 agents in his office. Only 2 of them have somewhere to live, and they're still working, probably because they have limited places where they can go. So working's actually might be like a nice break from wherever they're having to stay at. And they're having people like, hey, I'm trying to get this house, like just interested in buying it. Looks like, oh. And they're like, are you freaking kidding me? Like I'm sleeping like on a cot at my mother-in-law's house. Like, get out of here.
Literally the dust hasn't settled and been cleaned up. And it's just, it's sad.
It's like the roofing ads and flooding ads we start to get like the day of the hurricanes. You're like, come on. Or especially they start knocking the doors and they're like, hey, let me inspect your roof. It might have been damaged. And you're like, get out. This is insurance fraud. Like most of the time, like, where are you from? They truly try to push you on that. Oh, let's see. We got one more from Inman. Did this one work for y'all? I know we had some trouble with getting that pulled up. Okay, good. Here we go. Let me get here. Homebuyer mortgage demand picks up for the first time in 6 weeks. Well, that's exciting.
Which is good. I mean, it's up 2%.
Ooh, 2%.
I feel like there's many things that could like affect that, So, I mean, it sounds like it's exciting, and maybe it's exciting, but also I look at it and I'm like, okay.
That's what's interesting.
Hopefully it keeps edging up.
watch all this mortgage and housing news, like every day, they're like 0.5%, like they're celebrating every little like blip or change, which I get, but it's almost like, okay, like just like you said, it's like you don't really have a reaction to it anymore.
Yeah, you're kind of numb to it or used to it, or you're like, this almost feels like a parent asking their kid, so how's your homework going? Well, I'm almost done. I did so much better than last week. Just forget about that. I stayed behind a year and I'm repeating the same grade because we're down 27%, but we're up 2% this week. Which is, you always have to go deeper in the articles, which I did a post on LinkedIn. It seems like Monday or Tuesdays I get in some mood where it's really easy to write. I'll probably start putting them on the website instead of just posting to LinkedIn so that everyone can see it. But like, you really have to deep dive onto, like, if a metric is being shown, especially a single metric, like mortgage demand picks up, and that's applications. So applications increase 2%. You need more context to that than just one number. Was pretty much the whole intent of my blog post. Then I talked about, like, well, you need to understand, what is the applications? Is that unique applications? Maybe people are actually, I don't even know. Like, us getting nerdy, is this actually unique applications are up, or are people now applying to more than one place, and so applications are up because there's more applications being submitted? I don't know. Yeah. So are actually applications down? I don't know.
Well, but depends on what you're comparing it to.
Yeah, total applications could be up, but unique applications or household applications, whatever you want it to be, tied to a person, could be flat, even up or down. But I mean, this all seems positive in the right direction. Of course, interest rates are, all over the place. Yeah, they're fun to watch. I follow Lance Lambert on Twitter for all my interest rate news. I think a lot of people do. He's like on it every day, multiple times throughout the day. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, like, when this podcast goes live, what the latest article is, or what the percentage. You know what I mean?
I hope it keeps going up. But it's the fall. I mean, if we look at just Google Trends, or if you have homebuilderdata.com access, like, the seasonality is obvious. This is the back half of the year. It goes down. That's just what it does. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So be interesting to see how that goes. But there's also inventory for existing homes is still all-time low. So will it kind of counteract that? I don't know. Guess we'll find out.
Buckle up.
We want to go on to current favorites, or did anything else pop up we should talk about? Because we only had 3 news articles. We kicked one out.
Well, we had the question of the week.
Oh, question of the week. How can we forget that?
Did you see that one?
I did. Who wants to read it? If you have it pulled up before me, that's good.
Oh, I don't trust myself to read it. I'm like going to fumble in like 3 words.
Julie's written like 400 books, so she should probably read it.
I'll try it. It says, and we won't say the builder here, but we'll say, they say, I keep thinking about social media and how feasible would it be for a home builder to try to monetize it. I wonder if you have any experience coaching home builders on this, or would be willing to approach the topic on one of your podcasts. I'm not sure what monetizing could mean for us. When our core following on Instagram is real estate agents, and our posts are more brand and sales oriented, seems like we'd be able to monetize easier if our audience was made up of more vendors and subcontractors, and we offer sponsored content to promote materials we use to build our home. So they're asking about monetizing, making money off of their social media accounts and posts. So I have lots of thoughts. Do y'all have thoughts?
I feel like people, if they're not watching the podcast recording, they should be right now, just because of the faces that all 3 of us made.
I was like,
of thinking,
how do we be positive? How do we be honest?
First off, thank you for sending a question. That's amazing. 100%. And we love it. This is such a fun one that I don't think we've ever talked about before. So if you sent this question, this is amazing. Thank you. And yeah, we have.
I think we should build some parameters.
Probably thought about this before. Like, it's a natural thought that people have probably looked into, of like, people are making money off these platforms. Maybe we can extend our revenue and make some money off of this too. But let's think through it a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we focus on, so let's define monetization. The person asking the question stated that they're looking to sponsor based off of like manufacturer sponsors. So not trying to get like money from Instagram or Facebook or wherever. So like, hey, we'll post your I don't know, whatever brand faucets, Kohler, $300. Cool. And they'll do a post about it, or like a series of posts. So that type of monetization versus trying to get 100,000 followers and have, a million plus views on reels, which that seems much more daunting. Although they should be doing the same things to get that amount of views, because if whoever's doing the buy essentially on their account will be like, great, your reels get 400 views. Here's $6 or something. I don't know. So
yeah, and to be fair, we used to do this back when I started, when like if we wanted to print a new brochure, sometimes there would be vendors come to us and be like, we will help you pay for that if you put things about our products in the brochure. You know what I mean? So this isn't a totally new concept. It's just new to this this avenue or this distribution channel. But I would look at what is your goal of your social media accounts? Is it to make money through avenues like that? Or is it to connect with your potential and current home buyers? So I think that would be number one. If changing the avenue is going to impact that in a negative way, if you start talking more to subcontractors and vendors, then you're not talking to your number one customer and audience, who are home buyers. Number two, when you think of monetization, you're thinking of giving somebody else those advertising eyes, but you're advertising yourself with that. You may not think of that organic as like you're selling yourself, but that's your own space. So I think you need to protect that space. And then if you do want to do something along those lines, I would think of it more in the terms of a collaboration than a monetization. So to collaborate with another social media account or something, I can see possibilities there. But the monetization, I can't see how that long-term would bring you more success to your home building goals than using that avenue for, for your number one goal, which is, I'm assuming, selling homes.
Yeah. And I think like, while it's tempting, we have to look at who we are on Instagram. Are we an influencer or are we a brand? And, it's the brand who collaborates with the influencer and pays the influencer for the posts, not the brand taking money to do posts for other brands. And so just knowing our role on these platforms, like you said, and how we are perceived to the customer or the people interacting with us on these platforms is vital in that decision making of if we pursue, because it is interesting, right? It's just like if you have a model home and you can link your model home furniture to a store and get a little bit of a kickback to, sending them to the store for buying that product because they found it in your model home. Like, it's an interesting concept to look into. But ultimately, you have to know who you are in that scenario and who you are to your audience before you make that decision.
And is it a distraction? You know what I mean? Like, it's just distracting you from your main goal.
Yeah. I like the idea of the collaboration of like, collaborating with the brand who makes this faucet. And I'm showing this faucet being used in a beautiful trend-setting brand new home versus me selling that faucet.
You're still speaking to your home buyers.
I don't know if there's anything to add based on what y'all said. I have no idea. That was perfection. But I think the only thing I could add is we have this very expensive resource that's finite of time. And if you were to spend, let's say, 5 hours a week dedicated to this, could that 5 hours, which 5 times 52, 250, say it's 200 hours a year, be put towards something else that would have much higher revenue, much higher profit? And then for your career growth, because I assume this is the marketer that asked the question, could that 200 hours per year benefit them better for their career in some other way? And I feel like the answer is yes. Like, I think learning how to grow the account, that's very valuable. Especially if you were to, let's say you're working with a regional builder and then you kind of went to national and you're like, hey, I took this local builder, regional builder, from 2,000 followers to 20,000. Then you go work for a big builder, like, oh, well, you know how to do this process. That could be valuable. But I think chasing oh, this is, I don't mean it offensive, but like chasing kind of like the pennies and dollars when you're kind of ignoring the checks with the commas in them. Trying to get like $200, $300 when it should be like, we're trying to make 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 on selling other products.
Yeah, I don't think the math adds up.
Yeah, and just like the time, but maybe it could be fun if you have interns or you're just paid interns. I think all interns should be paid. But if you had like a team of people, like, hey, we have someone who's at X rate per hour, they're dedicated to this, they manage it and run it. Cool, that can make sense. But I would be weary of like someone that we talk to on a daily basis, like marketing coordinator, director, whatever their title might be. Like, hey, I'm gonna spend a fifth of my week focusing on this. Like, ooh, like you could probably have a lot more revenue-driven activities doing something else versus that. But I think it's a fun idea. Like, it's a good idea. Like, it's
fun topic.
Yeah. Shout out to just putting it out there and asking it. Most people, I think, would not ask it. So
yeah, and I loved talking about it. I think it was a great question.
Yeah. Well, especially we see it in other industries all the time.
Yeah.
Like all over the place. But I think our industry is so special. There's big revenue attached to it. So then one transaction, a lot of revenue compared to, let's say, I'm in the fitness space. And so if you're selling like a supplement, you're like, cool, it makes $6 per jug of whatever or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different thing when it's like, oh, that one transaction $6, this one transaction 60,000. Yeah. So yeah, one transaction is important. Fun question. Move on to current favorites or not so favorites. Beth, favorite, not favorite.
Oh, not favorite. I don't have a not favorite this time. Last time I went on like some random like rant. I don't know, who knows. But this time I've had this like shout out to my cousin, who's the reason why I'm addicted to this. But sliced baguette. Okay.
Baguette.
Ready?
So
how do you pronounce it?
French.
How do you pronounce it?
Julie definitely knows.
I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, and everyone's gonna make fun of me. But like
baguette,
prosciutto, like the
prosciutto.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Prosciutto, and then goat cheese.
I like goat cheese.
That one's my favorite.
And then hot peach chutney.
Okay. Some spicy, peachy stuff.
Spicy and sweet. That's the beauty of it. And then you have the salty.
And when do you eat this?
Yeah.
Do you just good. Like randomly?
I went on like a whole week where it was my lunch every single day.
That's hilarious. Every day.
I just made a plate and I would like text a picture to Carla and be like,
this is what I'm doing. Yeah. That sounds good.
It does sound good.
We need that at the summit.
It's so good. Go try it, everybody. Costco sells goat cheese in like a 2-pack. That's much cheaper than the grocery store. You're welcome.
Yeah, forget the grocery store. And you go through the goat cheese. Okay. We'll need a new recipe next week. Julie.
My not favorite is the back to school germs because I have the something that my son had and then now I have. And my favorite took a big shot of Dayquil before this podcast, took NyQuil last night, and they were laughing. You probably can't see on the camera, but I drink a Coke, which I never do, but it looks like red wine, but I swear it's not.
It's
I just swear. So that's what got me through this. This podcast is sponsored by Dayquil and a little bit of caffeine. I'm feeling good.
Well, my new favorite is, I think last time I talked about how this, oh geez, I'm getting wrapped up. This mic boom stand is terrible. It was on the floor next to me. Blue, which is like a legit brand. This is like $100, which I mean,
I thought it was a cane at first. I was like, what are you doing, Andrew?
What happened to your legs? What's wrong with you? So I'm like, oh, let's go premium, right? Buy once, cry once, just get it over with. It's the best one. And it usually works well. But if the humidity changes or any of that stuff, then it starts to just, my mic will just be like falling down. So I'm like, all right, let me just get one of these cheap boom stands that you have to lock in place. I haven't touched this really, I don't think, since I put it in front of my face for the podcast. This was like a $20 knockoff one from China that someone bought 20,000 of, brought in a container, shipped it to Amazon, fulfillment with Amazon, making a bunch of money now. And boom, this is great. It's my new favorite. I don't even know what brand it is because there's like 30 of them that are the exact same thing on Amazon. And you just pick the one that's like going to show up the next day. So that is exciting. So that's my favorite. My least favorite was, I don't know what it is. We have 3 Starbucks. Oh geez, where I'm at, there's a Starbucks within 5 minutes. Like every corner has a Starbucks where I'm at. So from our house, there's 3 within 5 minutes. East, north, south, right there. Hurricane time, comes. I'm like, well, let's get our last Starbucks before everything's shut down tomorrow. Like, you just know it's gonna be shut down. All three of these places were closed. It was like 7 in the morning. Hurricanes gets
Oh.
there allegedly. The wind picks up at like 10 o'clock at night. It's since COVID. It's so weird. At least down here, maybe they're all like this. I have no idea. The ones down here, if they just decide to not be open, or maybe like enough people don't make it on the shift or whatever, they just close up. No signs, nothing. They're still open on the app. So Starbucks, you're
Did some
making me
people
frustrated.
leave before the hurricane? Was like this one bad enough that some people left town?
No, we didn't get the vibe. There really wasn't many who did the our evacuations. If you're familiar, like it's like mobile homes. Okay, those are evacuated. Nursing homes are usually evacuated depending on where they are. And then like if you're on the beach because they closed the bridges are evacuated. But like most people didn't board anything up. There wasn't like, it really was like, ooh, it's here, but like it was pretty calm. Like the vibe. If you go to the store, there's no water, but that's kind of like the usual thing. There's no water and like random stuff that just is gone. But it wasn't the same tense feeling like when we had Irma a while ago, where we're like, oh, this is serious. And everyone's kind of secretly freaking out. So I don't know. Dunkin' was open, Chick-fil-A was open, McDonald's was open, every other place was open, but Starbucks. What's wrong with you? Oh well. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to become a member for free of Do You Convert's all access community app for home builders and developers. Watch behind the scenes videos from the podcast, frequent exclusive postings and analysis from the DYC team, access to private hangouts, and much, much more. See y'all next week.
Have a good one.